Yo, guess what I got for you guys, bro? Look, it's my babies. Oh, you guys. It's True King Yang Zings, baby. Oh, man. If any of you have followed this channel for at least a year, you would know that before Dinlong got banned and Laito Sagam got banned, that True King Yang Zing was my main deck. It's still such an incredible deck, it really is, and oh my goodness. Like, it was just so powerful. Like, the deck was so ahead of its time. When I had first built it, this was the only True King I played in it because this is the only one that was out. I built True King Yang Zings. The second that I discovered this card existed when he came out of Dark Illusions, I started playing Yang Zings with 3 of him. So I was like the first dude ever to play True King Yang Zings before it even was a thing. Then we got the Water True King. Then we got Mariamne. Then we got Lithosojin. Then we got Calamities. Diagram came out. All these other things that just made the deck amazing. Now, unfortunately, it has been power crept due to the ban list, which is not recent, but the ban list that hit Dinlong. But it's still a really powerful deck. And the route that it has to take now in order to maintain stability and be competitive is it has to go the route of Calamities Turbo. But you have to consider how powerful of a card True King of all Chlamydia really is. This card is in a league of its own as well. It really outclasses every deck by itself. It's one of the most powerful boss monsters that have ever been made in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It fits in the category of top 5. I don't care what anybody says about it. So let's hop right into the deck list, you guys. So starting off with the True Kings, I play 3 copies of Agni Mazud. If you do not know what True Kings do, I'll give you a quick little synopsis on them. So every True King has an effect where you can reveal them in hand to special summon them. When you reveal them, you have to destroy a monster that has their exact attribute face up on your field or in your hand, and also one other monster. So you destroy 2 monsters face up on your field and or in your hand, so you can do a combination of both. But one of them always has to be the same attribute as the True King that you're revealing. And you summon them. They also have this additional bonus effect that if both monsters you killed were their attribute, they grant a secondary effect. Also, whenever they're destroyed by card effect, they net some kind of advantage. So they're floaters just like Yang Zing. So what Agni Mazud does is if he pops 2 fires, he allows you to banish 1 monster from your opponent's field or graveyard. That does not target, A, and it does not destroy, B. Now, this card is really powerful going second against any established board because the way True Kings work with how their effects resolve is the second you reveal them, that is your opponent's only chance to respond. And every single effect is all one effect, including the ability to banish a monster on field. So if I'm going against extra link board, just for example, and I reveal Agni Mazud and my opponent does not Tri-Gate him, and I resolve Agni Mazud by popping 2 fires, he cannot respond to me trying to banish his monster. You will miss your window of opportunity. So it's a really, really awesome mechanic that I think that they kind of have their own way to summon themselves. There's very few cards that actually work the way the True Kings work. And if he's killed by card effect, he gets to net you a non-fire worm type. So they all grab a worm type somewhere, whether it's like graveyard or field, or deck, or however you want to do it in hand. The only thing is that it can't be the same attribute as him. So we have 3 Agni Mazud. He's one of the best ones to start off with because now without Lithosojin, you got to play more fires in your deck because he's the one you want to reveal to summon. The other True Kings are the ones that you want to be destroying with his effect. Then we have 3 copies of Barastos the Fathomer. What he's going to do is if he hits 2 waters, he's going to banish 2 back rows from the grave or the field. That's really insane for the Sky Striker matchup. If you can banish their spells from their grave, get them to less than 3, or if you just want to banish their Widow Anchors, or any spell that you feel they might be able to add off Gagar that would be detrimental to you. In addition to that, if there's a spell cards, that if they have like set Widow Anchors, for example, if you reveal this guy with 2 waters to pop, you're basically going to banish their Widow Anchors without them having a chance to respond, because these effects do not activate on summon. When you reveal them, that's when it activates, which is insane. And if he's destroyed, he's basically a tour guide for the archetype, which basically he special summons a True King from your deck. He special summons a worm type. They all fetch worm types, which is really cool because the Yang Zings are worm types too. So the decks, they work together. It's a perfect cohesion. It's just a beautiful, beautiful hyper variation. He specials any non-water worm type from your deck. There are often times when I'm resolving my Dragonic Diagram to pop him just to special summon Jiaotu, the Darkness of the Yang Zing, from my deck so that I can continue with my combo. We also have 3 copies of Mariamne, the True Draco Phoenix. She's not actually a True King. In fact, there's a crazy lore about True Dracos and True Kings. She is in league with Masterpiece, and she's the main reason why Masterpiece was able to be endowed with the power that he has. He was not Masterpiece the True Draco Slaying King in the beginning. He actually was weaker. She endowed him with power from pretty much, you know, the I believe it was the Magispectors and the Ignites, I think. And there's a couple other Pendulum archetypes. And Amorphages and Dynamis. There we go. So ultimately, she's just not True King, but she pretty much still is. She has the same exact effect as him, the same level, the same summoning condition. And if she dies, she searches any non-wind worm type. So keep in mind that you can search your Yang Zings with her. You can special your Yang Zings with him. And with Agni Mazud, you can add any of your Yang Zings from grave to hand. Or you could just use their effects on themselves, which is totally fine. So you can only play 9 True Kings, unfortunately, because Lithosagem is banned. If he was unbanned, I normally used to play 3 Lithosagem, 3 Barastos, 3 Mariamne, and then 2 Agni Mazud. But I absolutely need to maximize on the amount of True Kings that I can play in my deck because I need to open up with them in correlation with my Dragonic diagrams because it makes things so much easier. If you have a diagram and a True King plus any Yang Zing, it doesn't matter what Yang Zing, you have a combo because the diagram will pop the Yang Zing and the Yang Zing will special summon the exact attribute of whatever True King that you have in your hand, and you're going to search out another True King anyways. So it's pretty busted. And the cool thing is, the way True Kings work with the Yang Zings, they actually do not miss timing because the True Kings do not have an and then if effect. It all happens simultaneously. So Yang Zings will always be the last thing to happen. Just food for thought because a lot of people get things twisted, their facts twisted with how the deck actually works. So that's it for the True Kings. And then we have the Yang Zing starting off with 3 Jiaotus. With Dinlong being banned and the deck losing a lot of its power plays, it's very important to capitalize on your Jiaotu as much as you possibly can. And the really cool thing is, even though you only played 3 Jiaotus, you have a lot of ways to access him. Being that you have your 3 Barastos and your 3 Mariamne, which can tutor this guy out your deck. So it's like playing 9 Jiaotus, but then when you keep in mind that you have diagrams as well, you have a lot of ways to get access to your Jiaotu. And Jiaotu is one of your most powerful turn 1 plays. It's just really, really strong. He summons 2 Yang Zings from the deck, and that does a lot of justice for you. Even if it's just for a True King combo, if you can, so that you can just go into Calamities and then have a Yang Zing face up on the field, so your 9 pillars of the Yang Zings will be live as well. You want to set up your board of negates. He's just really, really strong. He can also go through a little miniature back seal loop where you can basically net a search off of your Zephyr Neo, and you can grab your Zephyr Divine Strike, or you can grab your Yang Zing Path. So yeah, it's really incredible. And then I only played 2 copies of Chi Win. He is extremely recurable. He just, you know, his basic effect is just to summon himself again from the grave whenever a Yang Zing monster is destroyed. But I just don't really like him at 3. He doesn't really do as much justice as the other Yang Zings, but he's really good to combo with. And if you guys don't know what Yang Zings do, which you should, they're so old. They're basically all just worm types who have different effects, but they all share one similar effect, and that means when and not if, which kind of sucks. They do have when effects and not if, but you know, it's okay. When these cards are destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Yang Zing from your deck who has what they're missing. So Jiaotu has 0 attack. So what you can summon from your deck is a Yang Zing in attack position, right? So basically, you're going to be summoning a Yang Zing who has attack statistics. And the Yang Zings that have attack, because they all either have attack and no defense or defense and no attack. If you notice, he has 0 and 2000. So if Jiaotu dies, he's going to summon a Yang Zing in attack position, which is really important that you want to summon the right cards. Because you never want to summon, like, for example, a Big C in attack position off of Jiaotu because he has 0 attack. You're just going to take damage. So it's a strange way the way they summon, but basically they're going to summon each other in different positions, being attack or defense. But Chi Win ignores that and summons a Yang Zing however you want to summon it from your deck. It can summon your Zephyr Neo, you know, anything that you want, and it doesn't have to be in a specific battle position, which is really cool. And then its Graveyard Floating effect is amazing as well, just to combo and also to chain block, because when multiple spell speed 1 effects occur simultaneously, you having turn player priority are able to build your chain links accordingly to prevent your opponent from, you know, for example, negating a specific card. And then that's it for the tuners. These are the tuners of the deck. We have 3 copies of Swanee. So every Yang Zing that's not one of the tuners has the same floating effect, but they also have another effect that's during your opponent's main phase or battle phase. You can synchro summon using Yang Zings that you can control. This is a spell speed 2 effect. But just keep in mind, whenever you're synchro summoning, if you're synchro summoning for a synchro monster who has a win effect, you do not want to chain your Yang Zings to anything, because once they resolve, the opponent's effect being chain link 1 will resolve, and your synchro monster will come out and it will miss timing. So when you're summoning your Baxia, you always want to make your Yang Zing initially the chain link 1. So you do not ever want to chain their effects to synchro to anything your opponent's responding, unless you are summoning a monster that does not have a win effect. I learned that the hard way playing this deck. I learned it over a year ago playing with this deck when I was playing extremely competitive with it. And then we also have 3 Beyonds. He's going to do the same exact thing. If he's destroyed, he summons one from deck. And then during either player's main phase or battle phase, you can synchro. There's a third effect that the non-tuner Yang Zings have, and that is whenever you synchro with them, they grant a specific immunity to that synchro monster. So what Swanee does is it's going to give it 500 attack and defense. Swanee is a 1900 beater, and any synchro you go into is a beater. So Swanee is your firepower. You get it? Your firepower. Beyond's pretty powerful because it makes your synchro monster unable to be destroyed by battle. And I've made some very nasty Chao Fangs with this deck, I'll tell you that much. Like a Chao Fang that was just invincible. So yeah, the immunity from battle is pretty neat. And it's just really nice because you can make synchros unable to be unaffected by spells and traps and, you know, immune to battle. Which means your opponent basically has to use a monster effect to out it. And you have negations for monster effects like crazy. You have counter traps, you have calamities. You've got the whole shebang. We also have 3 copies of Bixie. Bixie makes your synchro monster unaffected by traps. Unaffected by traps is really, really important for this format because it's not just about impermanence. It's about the Altergeist matchup. It's about your Paleozoic matchup. It's about your True Draco matchup. It's about your Rogue matchup. It's about that Cybernetic Overflow. It's all about, like, you know, a lot of those matchups, my dude. Like, it's really, really important to make your synchros unaffected by traps because they're also unaffected by all traps. So you could get away with torrential tributing for free if you really wanted to. And then we have Pull Out. Pull Out I play at 2 because it's really important in the Sky Striker matchup. Any synchro monster that you make with this guy is unaffected by spells, you guys. Unaffected by spells. So ultimately in the Sky Striker matchup, every method of removal that they have afforded to their archetype is absolutely just, I guess you can call it, it's blanks. But another way to state it is it's absolutely useless. There's not very much that they could do. If they can't Whittle Anchor you, they can't Afterburner, they can't Jamming Weights. You can engage for 1,000,000 cards, but if you can't get over my monsters, the best thing you've got is Hayate to attack directly. And we have Calamities. You can't attack, you can't activate monster effects. So you have to really sit back and consider what exactly can a Sky Striker player do if you've already established a synchro monster that's unaffected by spell cards. And to sum up the Yang Zing count, I do play 2 copies of Zephyr Neo. This card is actually a Zephyr and a Yang Zing, which is really cool. So it's played in, you know, Zephyrs, which I love that deck too. And also this deck. The reason why I play Zephyr Neo in this deck is because without access to Dinlong, cards like Yang Zing Path and Zephyr Divine Strike, well, cards like Yang Zing Path in general are just not able to really be searchable without a card like this. Because if he's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add a Yang Zing or Zephyr Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand. So this card's really, really important to play in the deck. He's extremely accessible because he is a Yang Zing. So any of these guys can float into him, and it's very easy to pop him with your Diagram, with your Baxia, with your True Kings. You know, there's so many ways you could trigger his effect. If you already have Yang Zing Path, because I do play 3 of it, you just use him to search your Divine Strike or your 9 Pillars of the Yang Zing. So this card will search your negates. It will search your counter traps. So if, for example, you open with one of your 4 counter traps and you use him to search a second, now you've got True King of all Calamities, Chlamydia, my bad, True King of all Chlamydia, and double counter traps. That's really powerful when you consider that you're completely frozen and stunned from using your monster effects and also attacking, and you still have to play into 2 counter traps, and then you still have to be able to break my board so that I don't OTK you, and everything floats in addition to that. So this deck is very, very hard to tank with, very difficult to deal with. It just has to be a specific matchup. Like, for example, if you play against a deck whose best method of removal is to not destroy, then you know you're going to have an amazing matchup against Yang Zings because you don't have to worry about them floating. This deck also has an extremely insane Thunder Dragon matchup. If you guys did not know, I just had to put that out there. This deck is really, really powerful against Thunder Dragons. They have really no way to out a Yang Zing except for making Nightmare Unicorn, and they only have one if they do play it, and it's like you're going to need to out them so many times, so it's really powerful. I do play one copy of Magma Dragon because he is one of the best extenders of this deck. And without cards like Dinlong for your recursion and Lithosagum for recursion, this card is extremely important. You can even loop it off of your Baxia. What he does is if he special summon, you target one worm type in your graveyard and special summon that worm type. For the rest of the turn, you can only summon worms. Does that even matter, you guys? All my monsters are worms. True King of all Chlamydia is a worm, Baxia is a worm, Yazi is a worm, Chao Feng's a worm. All I really do is make worm types anyway, so that restriction doesn't mean anything. And if I really wanted to make something that's not a worm type, I can just synchro summon it during my opponent's turn. And then I do play a small Fire King engine in this deck, being 2 Arvatas. The reason why I play the Arvatas is because I wanted to play Fire King Island to have another way to diagram without having diagram. Because a lot of scenarios, I have the ability to combo, but what I need is a way to pop a card just so that I can search a specific attribute being fire, or just to pop a True King in my hand, thus triggering that True King's effect so that I can combo off and make my calamities. A prime example is when I have Barassos in my hand, but I have no water attribute True Kings or water attribute monsters. But if I have Fire King Island, I could just pop this, search my fire, use Barassos effect to summon anything from my deck except for Bixie in itself. I can even bring back Magma Dragon. I can combo off extremely efficiently just by having Fire King Island, and searching the Arvada is really good because at bare minimum, this card is a monster negator, which is something that you have to keep in mind. So that's it for your monsters. You play a lot because it's a heavy combo deck, and the only hand trap that really hurts this deck is actually just Ash, but you have so many things that can be Ash, and your opponent can only Ash Blossom once per turn. Then for our spells, we have triple Draconic Diagram and double Fire King Island and 1 Oracle of Zephyra. Now, this is really important to play different name field spells because I do play set rotation in this list. And also, one of the best things that you can actually do is give your opponent the Fire King Island and pop it and nuke their whole field, which is incredible. It's like you give them a Raigeki that they just don't see coming. And giving them the Oracle is really nice too because I can use this because I do play Zephyrs in my deck, but other players can't. So if you set rotation them, giving them this, they effectively are not able to use field spells until they get that out of this field spell zone. So I chose the 6. All of these can actually be played in my deck. This can search my Zephyr Neo. This is actually enabling me to pop cards and also net the attributes that I need. And in addition to that, Diagram is just the best field spell for this deck. It's really insane. It's powerful. It makes Yang Zings a lot more fast-paced because Yang Zings by themselves are pretty slow. You know, they're not very explosive without Jiaotu, but Jiaotu being, you know, just 3 out of a 40 card deck. If you play 40, it's just, you have to have other ways to play, and that's why I love True King Yang Zings. Everything works perfectly. I think that the True Kings are related to the Yang Zings, honestly. You have 2 Terraforming Optimus Prime because it's at 2. We have the 1 set rotation so that we are actually playing 3 Optimus Primes, just one of them is a quick play, and you can actually set it as a trap, so which is really good. So even though Terraforming went down to 2, I easily can supplement for that because I play multiple field spells that I can all use, so it doesn't matter if I draw any of these field spells, and if I draw set rotation, it's a plus. Then we have triple Yang Zing Path. Yang Zing Path is extremely important in this deck, maintaining your resources, recycling some of your best extra deck cards, and also just netting that +1. Is really extremely important, and it's always nice to just draw this for turn as one of your opening 5 cards so that you don't have to waste your Zephyr Neo search on this. That way you could just get your counter traps. Speaking of, I play 4 counter traps. I play 3 copies of 9 Pillars of Yang Zing because this trap is retarded. Do you guys know that this card just basically negates and shuffles? When a spell, monster, or trap would be activated, you negate the activation if you do shuffle that card into the deck, and then you destroy a Yang Zing. It's really important to pay attention to how this card is wording because it negates the card, shuffles it, and then destroys the Yang Zing. Do you know what that means, my brother? The last thing to happen is a Yang Zing being destroyed, so this trap can trigger your Yang Zing floaters. It would be counterintuitive for Konami to print a card that works for the archetype, but also kills your field presence. So yes, this does trigger your Yang Zings. Just keep that in mind. A lot of people like to tell me that it doesn't, and it actually does. 1 copy of Zephyr Divine Strike because it's another searchable counter trap, and it's another easy accessible one. It's just really nice to have the extra search target off of your Zephyr Neo and to capitalize on Zephyr Neo because once he goes to your extra deck, you have little to no use on him, so you might as well just capitalize him while in extra deck to play the Divine Strike. So you have your 4 counter traps, which I like because I have a high chance of drawing one of these 4. If I can draw at least one of these and search the second one, I can have double counter traps. If I already had the nuts and I had this Yang Zing path and I was able to draw a third, 3 counter traps is just golden, you know. It can happen. And then the final trap is actually one of my best spicy techs, you know, that I've ever played in this deck. It's called Diamond Dust. So a lot of people don't even really know what Diamond Dust does, and it actually only works against water archetypes. So what it says is, destroy as many water monsters on the field as possible. Inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each water monster destroyed by this effect and sent to the graveyard. So this is also another way to play around the time rules. But what's really important is it doesn't matter if you're playing a water deck or not. Because if you know what True King of all Chlamydia does, he changes the attributes of all your opponent's monsters, which is broken. So, you know, if they're all water, well, he changes everything. He changes everything, the attributes of everything on the field to whatever he declares. So you can nuke your own board, but don't forget that your monsters float, so it doesn't matter. But what's really important is that you're nuking your board and you're nuking your opponent's board. You have the potential to inflict 3,000 damage to your opponent and nuke their field whenever you're ready, because this is not a timed trap like Torrential. You can activate this whenever you want. So you can simply activate Calamity's Call Water, and whenever you're ready, you flip your Diamond Dust, you nuke their field, you do huge amounts of burn damage, and, you know, they pretty much pass because they're still under Calamities, and they have now no Venerable Field Presence. You can just easily OTK them next turn. This deck easily OTKs. All right, that's the main deck. Now for our extra deck. We have not 2, but 3 copies of True King of all Chlamydia. This is the best turn 1 play of the deck. It's easy to pull it off. It's just Calamity's Turbo. It's Yang Zing. It's True Fire King, Yang Zing, Calamity's Turbo. I feel like I butchered that. How can we name it? True Fire King, Yang Zings. There we go. Still Calamity's Turbo. If you guys do not know what Calamities does, I'm going to have to read the card to you. But there's a reason why I call this card True King of all Chlamydia. I've been calling him that for a year now. So, once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, declare 1 attribute. This turn, all face-up monsters on the field become that attribute. Remember, as I stated earlier, he changes everything on the field. So, Diamond Dust nukes your field and your opponent's field, but you're playing Yang Zings. Luckily, all your cards float. So, all face-up monsters on the field become that attribute. Also, all monsters in your opponent's possession with that attribute cannot activate their effects or attack. And I'm going to stop right there because he does have another effect, but I'll explain to you exactly what possession is. If a card is anywhere on your field, in your graveyard, in your hand, in your banish zone, and in your extra deck, and in your deck, all of that is a player's possession. So what Calamities basically says is anything that has an attribute that you've declared, it cannot resolve its effect no matter where it is. If your opponent's resolving a monster effect like a Metaphys that's being activated and banished, that's still your possession. You can't activate it. If it's an effect that activates an extra deck, that's still your possession. You can't activate it. So cards like Purple Poison Magician do not resolve. Cards like Black Fang Magician do not resolve. If you're activating an effect of a monster that resolves, if it's tributed in your hand like Cyber Angel Benton, that card does not resolve. If you're activating graveyard effects, that card will not resolve. It basically stuns you from activating anything. And don't get me wrong, passive effects and continuous effects are not being negated. This card does not negate, he just simply floodgates you from activating in the first place. And also not being able to attack means that you can't Hayate and attack directly. And it effectively wins in time. Like in match procedures, this card beats time rules because if you can't attack, you can't do those cheap Molaseek attack directly, Hayate attack directly. You can't attack. You got to try to do some burn damage after you play through the counter traps. And then his most broken effect, which nobody ever uses, and I don't understand why they don't, is if you would ever summon your True Kings, you can use your opponent's monsters instead of your own. So I have to explain what that means because a lot of people misinterpret what that means. As I explained earlier, the True Kings have to destroy monsters face up on the field, on your field, or in your hand in order to summon themselves. Now, with Calamities on the field, instead of destroying your monsters, you can destroy your opponent's monsters. You guys do not understand how literally broken and impactful that is on any game state. Simplified, reckless, hectic, explosive, it doesn't matter what game state it is. You guys have no idea how much of a trump card this truly is. So if I have an Agni Mazud, right, and let's say I'm playing against a let's say like a Trickstar player or like, you know, a Burning Abyss player. Let's just say I'm just playing against any deck and they have 2 monsters on the field. I can use Calamities to call the attribute of any True King that I have. So even if my opponent does not control fires, I can call fire, right? Or let's get a better one. This is my favorite combo because I do this all the time. I've done this on my videos. You guys have to watch my True King Yang Zing duels. I have savaged like everybody. I used to like never lose with this deck. So let's say, for example, we're playing against a back row heavy deck like Altar Guys. You can go Calamities, call Water, and then you can reveal Barassos, pop 2 of their monsters. They can't respond unless they respond to when you're revealing, okay? And you can just counter trap them anyways. But anyways, they can't respond, so you're just going to reveal this card. You're going to destroy their 2 monsters in order to summon your True King. But guess what? His secondary effect kicks in. So what have you just done? You have destroyed 2 monsters and banished 2 back rows. So you've cleared 4 cards at the cost of summoning your monster to the field. Am I... Maybe I'm underselling. You've cleared 4 cards just in order to summon your... Can you imagine a card that Konami prints that says, in order to special summon this card, you must banish 2 spells or traps from your opponent's field or graveyard and destroy 2 monsters on their field. This card cannot be special summoned by any other way. Everybody and their mother would be playing that card. They would play the deck that it's in just because they want to play that card, okay? And that's what Calamities does. He makes all your True Kings retarded, all right? So True King of all Chlamydia, that's why I call him Chlamydia. We have Chao Feng. What Chao Feng does is he says that no monster effects can be activated whose attributes are the original attributes that were used for this card synchro summon with the Yang Zing. So prime example is you use Beyond to make this card. Gokis can't activate any of their effects. And it's really cool because you can actually floodgate your opponent out of all their monster effects. And basically this is like another Calamities, but it's even stronger. Because it's not just for that turn. It's period while this card's on the field. In addition to that, you can protect him from being... So you can make it to where this guy's unaffected by spells and unaffected by traps and cannot be destroyed by battle. And your opponent, whatever monsters and even multiple attributes. If you're playing Altar Guys, you can use Light to stop the Marionetter, Dark for the Multi-Faker. You could do any attribute you want. So you basically make it to where this card cannot be hit by monster effects because your opponent can't use monster effects. He's unable to be destroyed by battle because you use Beyond. And he's unaffected by spells and traps. So ultimately, do you know what that means? This card is unaffected by card effects and it cannot be destroyed by battle. So how exactly are you going to get over it? By a Kaiju. That's it. So Chao Feng's pretty broken, and he does have another way to combo off. This card can instantly go into Calamities. I make him as an extender at times in the duration of my combo. Any monster on your opponent's side of the field gets destroyed by battle or card effect. You get to special summon a worm-type monster whose attribute is identical to that attribute of the monster that you destroyed. So if you make him and ram into any of your opponent's monsters, if it's a fire, a water, or a wind attribute monster, you can summon one of your True Kings from your deck and overlay and make Calamities. Or you could just combo off and summon any Yang Zing you want, which is broken. Then we have double Yazi. Yazi is extremely important in this deck. You can even play Mirror if you want because it's really easy to make Yazi in this deck, and honestly is. Yazi is pretty powerful too. You can make him unaffected by spells and traps and unable to be destroyed by battle, and he naturally can't even be targeted by card effects. So you can make this card really nasty. Yazi is very difficult to get over, especially for a Sky Striker player when their best methods of removal are spells. If he's unaffected by spells, you can't even board wipe him, and he can't be targeted, so you can't like impermanence him or Widow Anchor him. And if this card actually does get destroyed by battle or card effect, he just summons any worm type monster from your deck, so you can special summon your True Kings as well, which is broken. I do not have my 3 Baxia, the brightness of the Yang Zing, because I sold them, but there should be 3 Baxias in my extra deck. So this is a 12-card extra deck. Baxia is retarded. I do Baxia on my opponent's turn all the time. He just shuffle cards into the deck. He doesn't destroy. We have double Black Rose because you synchro on your opponent's turn, and this is one of the best cards to make during your opponent's turn, just to change the tempo of the game. We have one Siphon Little Mega. Card's the GOAT because when I run out of my Chi Winds, when they get banished, I just return them to the grave and extend. Then we have one Scrap Dragon, one Samsara, and one Herald of Arclight. The reason why we play the Herald of Arclight is because it's a way to combo off to turn your 1/9 Pillars of the Yang Zing into 2 negates. Because you can just hit any Yang Zing and then special summon Beyond from your deck, chain Chi Wind from grave, and you have level 3 and a level 4. Synchro during your opponent's turn, go into Arclight, it can be destroyed by battle. And then all their cards are getting banished, and then whenever you're ready, you contribute it and negate. So 1/9 Pillars can be 2 negates if you have a Chi Wind engraved. So that concludes the deck profile, you guys. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. I love this deck a lot. It got so much love on my channel. In fact, there was a point in time while this channel was up that the only content that I produced was worm type content. I only did True Kings and I only did True Dracos and I only did like Yang Zings and stuff like that for a very, very long time. If you guys are even curious about my builds on this deck, I have literally over 30 deck profiles of True King Yang Zings on my channel. And I have over 7 duels. I think I have like 9 or 10 duels with this deck. So if you want to see content, I already have you covered. You just have to search it on my channel. But God bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Y'all have a beautiful night and be safe, y'all. Peace.